Raised in Toledo, Ohio. Graduated, went to St. John's Jesuit High School in Toledo, all boys Catholic school. Graduated in the early 80s and played a lot of sports. Was a football player. Was actually an all-state wide receiver at St. John's, and played baseball, and we had a lot of success there. Middle child of 3 kids. Sports were a big part of what we did, and wanted to continue that as I was looking at schools. Had some opportunities with some bigger schools to continue to actually, Coach, you said it earlier before we got on, I was probably more of a football player than a baseball player, to walk on and continue to play football, but wanted to do both. Great blend of a lot of people, natives of Ohio, and then people from other parts of the country. So a good blend of people from all over the place. And school, you could get involved in a lot of things. I was involved with my fraternity and certainly stayed involved with sports, but just, it was one of those things, gut feel and intuition.
Who was your main recruiter? Who was recruiting you? And
this is a great story. John and I won't. I mean, he's going to remember this for a long time, because this is one of those stories that I tell everybody about, like how much talent I had. So the guy that recruited me to Ohio Wesleyan is the current general manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kevin Colbert.
Wow.
Kevin was a football coach and the recruiting coordinator, and he also happened to be the head baseball coach. And so he was the guy that was talking to me, and I, like I said, obviously the guy knew had an eye for talent. It took him all the way to professional football. Embarrassed to say that I was the only freshman on the team my freshman year, which, you know what that meant, John? I also became the rookie of the year. And within a few days before we were supposed to go on our spring trip, we get introduced to this guy, Roger Ingles from Ohio State, who was barely older than a lot of our seniors. And I don't know how it happened. Coach, you can fill in the details, but it was a great example of leadership and saying, come on, guys, I'm your new guy. Let's go get them. Kind of the personality per player ratio was through the roof. We, Tim Corbin, who's the coach at Vanderbilt, was our catcher. Big Mark Oberholzer, the center on the basketball team, was a pitcher. Everybody was doing something else. And then they decided to play baseball. But we all came together as a group. And, just the bonds. The thing about baseball, which is so great, is you're together every day. And there's downtime and you're talking. Scott, I think about the amount of times you and I spent in the outfield together, shooting the breeze between innings, playing catch. And that's as meaningful to me as any win or loss or anything. That relationship, you and I stood out there for more hours, for more years, enjoying each other's company and talking about things, being young men. And it's just a different, environment than other sports. You're in a football helmet, you're banging heads and doing all those things. Great team effort, but just the ability to build relationships, I think, is a little bit different in baseball. And that's what we ended up having to do, Coach, with the team. And what I learned from Roger was kind of the balance of rigor and discipline and having a plan, while at the same time ensuring that we're going to make it fun. He didn't have a problem chewing us out, but at the same time, he'd laugh and find a way, being not much older than some of us, everybody knew who the boss was, and we were following him and did that in a really short period of time. I got to play football freshman year because Fody got hurt, and I was behind him and ended up, playing the rest of the season at wide receiver. And so there was a lot of, Tim Corbin was our darn football manager. So
it's his work study job.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of connectivity in there, and that's the great thing about a school like OWU, to be honest with you, is the ability to build relationships, do more things, get engaged. It's good stuff.
So I just wanted you to kind of talk about your freshman year. You come in, you're the only freshman. You got a bunch of guys that are just athletes playing baseball. How did the team change from your freshman year till your junior year, where now you're hosting a Mid-East regional.
And it actually changed my sophomore year, and it changed because of coach's ability to recruit. There's a bunch of guys that showed up sophomore year, and I thought, I don't know where these guys came from, but these guys know how to play baseball.
Yeah.
And they were all from in and around Delaware, Central Ohio. Obviously, coach had had them for summer leagues and things. They all knew each other. Hank Jones and Mike Milligan, and I'm not going to remember everybody's name, but these guys were baseball players, and they knew how to play the game. And it's, again, I can see it like it was yesterday, and I thought, holy God, where did this come from? And it taught me at a young age the good lesson. John Wooden always talk about what makes a great coach, great players, and going out there and finding talent and being able to build a team around it. So the difference, John, between my freshman and sophomore year, and then Scott shows up as a freshman, and Scott Walberry, you just go down the list, Eddie Powell, it was transformed within 6 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, we didn't have spring or fall baseball at all. You just showed up in the springtime. But when we started playing after Christmas, you could tell there was a big difference, and the kind of the organizational structure and what everybody needed to do, and it started there. So again, I've said it 3 or 4 times, but that was the type of thing that an OWU afforded me, was to kind of chart my path, explore different things, and have a real well-rounded experience in education, while at the same time being able to do these things. All I ever knew growing up as a kid was playing sports and competing, and being in the business world for 30 some years, I say my prayers and say thank you for the fact that I learned how to compete and as you guys said, win as a team. I was an international economics major, but I actually majored in kind of C's make degrees, to be honest with you. So and then I had a minor in German, so I was always involved in the business world, and got into banking right out of school. And Roger, you won't remember this, but here's what I'll tell you 32 years later, that baseball is the reason why I got my first job. And so here's what happened. We were playing, when we were down in, we'd go down south, and we were in Savannah, Georgia. And I wanted to go into the banking business, and I had opportunities in Ohio and in New York. And I was sitting in Savannah. It was around St. Patrick's Day, and it was 80 degrees. And I thought, this is kind of nice. And so there was a bank headquartered in Charlotte that I had some contacts with. And when we got back to school after our spring trip, I actually wrote the bank a letter and kind of talked my way into an interview with them. And I was supposed to leave to fly to Charlotte after our baseball game. We were playing Ohio State. And the game, and I was going to miss my flight if the game went in extra innings. I think we went like 13 innings.
You would have to bring that game up.
Yeah.
It comes up every
and
call.
we ended up losing. So my then girlfriend, my then girlfriend, my now wife, races me to the airport in Columbus, and I missed my flight. So I get back and I call the bank, and I said, and I had told them, listen, the only problem is I've got a baseball game, and if the game goes extra inning, I might miss my flight, and I'll have to reschedule my interviews. And sure enough, I missed my flight, and I talked to these guys, and they said, fine, we'll reschedule it. Well, the next day at practice, I'm standing there in the infield, and I'm telling you, Coach, this story about the fact that I missed my flight. And you got so mad at me, in spite of the fact we're playing a game, playing the team you want to beat more than anybody. But you looked at me and said, you ever do something like that again, I am going to, I don't know if you said kick your ass or what you said, but I remember exactly where I was standing. And it was one of the most unselfish things from a leadership standpoint to say, listen, pal, you go get that damn job. because I'm going to expect you to give some money back to this school at some point. And don't ever do that again. You need to tell me this. And so anyway, I got the whole thing rescheduled. I flew down to Charlotte and ended up going through these interviews. Well, the guy that was in charge of human resources at the time was a huge baseball fan. And all he wanted to talk to me about was the fact that I played baseball. And you know what? They never even asked for my college transcript or anything. They offered me a job on the spot because I was an Ohio Wesleyan baseball player.
Nice.
And all of that happened in that way. And I worked for that bank, First Union, which became Wachovia Bank, for 22 years. And it started out, it was the fourth largest bank in North Carolina when I started. When I left, it was the fourth largest bank in the country. Scott, I spent a lot of time in Birmingham. We bought South Trust Bank.
Yes.
In Birmingham. I was there for weeks on end, kind of building those banks. And my whole career has been built around integrating, buying banks, and building teams. And I hearken back to a lot of what I learned and saw with guys like you all around the importance of building a team, building a culture, having a vision for where we're going, rigor and discipline in what we do, celebrating our successes, all that foundational stuff. And I don't want any of my professors to hear it, but I didn't hear it. I didn't learn that in the classroom. I learned that going on road trips with guys like you all, and the work that we did together, and the successes that we had, and the times that we failed, and all that kind of stuff. And that helped me more than anything in my business career. So I've been doing that for 32 years. Came back to Chicago 11 years ago, and have been pretty much in the Midwest since then, which has been great, which has given me a little bit of opportunity to get more reconnected back with the school. And, I got back connected with the school, not because of my professors, but because of Coach Ingles. And at that time, athletic director Ingles. I said, to myself a long time ago, if that guy calls me and needs something, I'm going to do what I can to help him. And I hopefully there's others listening to this show that can remember that we all have a responsibility to see what we can do to help each other out to keep this moving forward, because the lessons that we learned and the value that we get. I mean, I haven't seen you guys in years. I feel like talking to you. I just saw you last week.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's hard to understand that feeling or how that happens, but I feel like I know John Nye as well as I know anybody. And we spent a year together playing. And like I said, Scott, you and I, we logged many hours in that outfield together.
For the younger guys who've seen the new scoreboard, your name is at the bottom of it, and we really appreciate that, and we respect that. Can you tell us exactly how that happened, and then what that means to you to have your name on the scoreboard?
I did. I told Tyler at the time, I don't need that, and I don't want it. I'm happy to have it as a placeholder until we can find somebody, get some company out there in Delaware to sponsor it and pay us some money for it to help build the program. But it came about because Roger called me, honestly, and said, we're trying to do some things, and we want you to, can you help contribute? And I said, at that time I had, 3 kids all in private high school and going to college. And there are lots of reasons why I could say no, to be honest with you. But it just was a priority for me. And it had nothing to do with wanting my name on something or anything like that. I know what I've gotten from the time that we spent together, and how it shaped me as a person, and the value that it's given me both professionally and personally now over 30 years. I see it more clearly now than I ever did. And I believe I've got a responsibility to keep that going for other people. This isn't intramurals. It's also not Division I big, shiny light stuff, but damn it, you're out there competing every day and you're learning a lesson. And however we can give back. Scott, hearing you out there, giving batting lessons to kids. They don't want me doing that, I guarantee you. So I'm going to find the talent that I have to use that in a way to see what I could do to help others. So that's all that it was. And it had a lot, if you say, well, what did it have to do with? It had to do with Roger Ingles and the baseball program, and then Ohio Wesleyan. That's how I looked at it.
Looking back today, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Oh,
Wow.
God. Boy, you know what? I think it's probably what I would had told my kids as they were going through college and everything is, capitalize on every opportunity, and recognize there's going to be good and bad in all of it. Build resiliency and make sure you find a way to move forward.
I wouldn't have changed a whole lot except for the physical factor. I wish I had been in a lot better physical condition.
Yeah.
So I think I was right on that bubble of being a draftable player. And if I could have maybe just thrown a little bit harder and taken that aspect of it a little bit more seriously, I don't think I had any problem with the competitiveness of the game and loving playing and being there. But just the running and lifting and things have changed tenfold since we've left. We just showed up and played.
Looking back, and I mentioned before, I wish I would have took baseball more seriously.
Yep.
Not that I didn't take it seriously because I was so focused on basketball. And when I came out of basketball, it was like, okay, let's go play baseball. But if I would have focused as hard as I worked on basketball as I did on baseball, that's the only regret that I have as far as playing.
I would agree with that. It's tough. It's easy to look back on now, but you're changing so much and growing so much and all that going on. I agree. Yep. If I could have put more rigor and discipline into my craft, wish that would have happened. But by the same token, had a lot of other good experiences. So.
Yeah.